You guys are fucking cheating on us, damn it, give us the points. At this moment, a group of players couldn't bear it anymore and rushed in front of the young people, showing their spiritual power. Trembling, excited expression. Staff, they are going to beat people. Several young people shouted without fear. What do you want to do? This is the challenge room. No conflicts are allowed except for challenges. The staff in the challenge room had just transferred Jason's 250,000 points to Reddy's identity cards. After the conflict here, he immediately rushed over and shouted coldly. Those cold eyes stared at the players, giving a silent warning. All the players' faces turned red and they wanted to take action, but they didn't dare. They felt extremely aggrieved and angry. You guys are so shameless. At this moment, a low voice suddenly sounded from behind the crowd. This voice seemed to have magic power. After it sounded, the previously extremely angry crowd suddenly became quiet. The player standing at the front took the initiative to move out of the way. In the middle of the road, a figure slowly came to the front, looking at Redis and others with a gloomy expression. It's him. It's the senior disciple who paid 60,000 points earlier. Next to them, some old people in the elixir tower recognized this figure. It was Jason who had previously paid 60,000 points and lost them all to Redis and the others. Behind Jason, Claire, Melting Saint, Denisha, Temujin and others followed closely, looking at Redis and others coldly. All the players were silent, standing around Jason and glaring at Redis and the others. The performance of the crowd immediately made everyone present realize that among this new team of spiritual masters who had joined the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, this black-haired young man had unimaginable authority. Everyone looked carefully at Jason, the winner of the mainland elite competition, a 6th-level senior spiritual master who was less than the 7th level. As soon as he joined the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, he unexpectedly became a senior disciple, and among all the players with such authority, everyone knows that this black-haired young man is definitely not simple. Shameless? I'm willing to accept the bet and lose. Redis had just earned 250,000 points at this moment. He felt very happy and snorted coldly. It's just that I didn't pay attention to the rules. Who's to blame? If you have the guts, gamble again. You must be a senior disciple. You lost 60,000 yuan before, and you still have 40,000 yuan. If you have the guts, just gamble. Do you dare? The remaining young people also echoed, extremely arrogant. For a moment, everyone in the challenge room focused on Jason. Reddies and the others looked clamoring, while the players looked forward to it. Some of them glanced slightly at Sophia, who had never spoken. For them, Jason and Sophia were their only hope, of course. In their hearts, if they were to compete, they would actually prefer Sophia. As for the onlookers on the side, they were all silent. It was obvious that Reddies and the others were still motivating and wanted to continue to cheat this group of newcomers out of their points. If it were them, after suffering a loss, they would definitely, I won't be fooled again, and I believe the newcomers won't be so stupid either. I still want to bet, okay. However, what surprised them was that Jason sneered out of the corner of his mouth, without even thinking about it. Suddenly, not to mention the onlookers, even Reddies and the others felt incredulous that these guys still wanted to bet after losing once. Could it be that they were thinking of revenge and their minds were filled with water, right? However, Redis was just stunned for a moment, and then a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes, and he hurriedly said, okay, I really have the guts. Since you are so talented, what kind of bet will I ask you to tell me this time? But beforehand, let me declare, as before, with less than 50,000 points, my brother has no time to play with you. This time we will not bet on the battle. Since you joined the elixir tower as elixir masters, I don't want to bully you this time, let's bet on spiritual medicine. Jason said indifferently, without any expression on his face. However, 50,000 points is too small, I'm not interested. If it's a little bigger, 500,000 points, do you dare to take it? The eyes of everyone around him were widened. 5 million points? Reddies and the others were also stunned. 500,000 points is not a small amount of money. In the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, the points that an ordinary high-level spiritual master disciple can earn in a year may not be that many. Of course, people like Reddies and the others are all spiritual masters. Pharmacists, unlike spiritual masters who can only do tasks and exchange materials for points, can still prepare elixirs to earn points, but even so, 500,000 is still an extremely huge amount. In the pagoda of the Spiritual Medicine Master, usually only the core disciples and the guardians bet points on each other, and they would bet so big. Of course, there are also unexpected situations. There is a momentary dispute between the two sides, and the elixir master who is a senior disciple may also bet big, but it rarely happens. 5 million points? Redis narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Jason carefully. Jason, Leonardo, and Sophia also looked at Jason in surprise. As for the onlookers, they almost didn't think Jason was crazy. They believed that Jason's talent in elixir science must be extremely high, otherwise he would not have become a senior disciple as soon as he entered the Elixir Master Tower, and should be a 6th-level elixir master. However, as long as you are a 6th-level low-level elixir master, you are qualified to become a high-level disciple. However, Redis is an old man who has been a senior disciple for a long time. As early as 2 years ago, he was promoted to the 6th-level high-level elixir master. Master Yao is also extremely outstanding in the attainments of spiritual medicine. Even among all the senior disciples of spiritual medicine, he is also a top figure. It would be too arrogant for Jason to challenge him like this. At first, many people sympathized with Jason and the others, but now seeing Jason being so arrogant, they felt a little dissatisfied. Young people, it's better to keep a low profile. Why are you so arrogant? What? You don't dare? Forget it if you don't dare. Jason shook his head, with a trace of disdain and contempt on his face. I saw you were so arrogant before. I thought you were really a figure in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, no? I dare not even think of betting 500,000 points. It's really rubbish. I'm so disappointed. Forget it, if you suffer a loss today, just treat it as a dog bite. Let's go, a bunch of cowards, there's nothing to say. Jason sneered and turned to leave. They're just a bunch of cowards. You still claim to be an old man in the alchemist's tower. You don't even have the courage to compete with us newcomers in a bet. Damn you. A senior disciple with the identity of a spiritual medicine master. I mean, brothers, this senior disciple didn't get it from somewhere, right? Haha, it's so funny. The other players also understood it at this time and immediately followed with a smile. Jason was about to leave behind him, disdainfully making a sound. Jason and the others were about to leave. Wait a minute. Reddy suddenly said. What? Dare you bet? Jason looked at Redis, at least 500,000 points. I won't play if it's lower. As elixir masters, there are many ways to gamble on elixirs. What do you want to do? Bet? Besides, you, a new member of the Alchemist Tower, have 500,000 points? Redis sneered. How to bet? There are just a few types of gambling on spiritual medicine, including preparing spiritual potions, identifying materials, gambling on crystals, solutions to determine the outcome, testing poisons, etc. You can choose whatever you want, and I will accompany you. As for 500,000 points, Jason was speechless. He made a slight stroke with his left hand, and instantly a large amount of materials appeared on the floor of the challenge room. These are all 5th level and 6th level materials. If they are mortgaged to the Elixir Master Tower, I don't think you will even have 500,000 points, right? Looking at the large pile of materials in front of Jason, there were many people present. There was an exclamation from everyone. These materials were neatly placed, arranged according to grade and degree of treasure, and they were all 5th and 6th grade materials. If consigned to the Elixir Master Tower, they would indeed be able to redeem to 500,000 points. These materials were exactly what Jason had obtained by searching the warehouses of the 8 major families in the territory of chaos. They accounted for about 2/5 of Jason's space ring. In terms of points, they were worth almost 600,000, and the materials selected are also produced in other places on the continent, not just the territory of chaos, so that when the Spirit Medicine Master Tower sees these materials, it will not suspect that it has any connection with the territory of chaos. Looking at these materials, Redis' eyes instantly lit up. "Okay, I'm betting," Redis said confidently. "As for what to bet on, since you let me say it, how about we bet on the solution to determine the outcome? In a life and death duel, using 6th-level material residues, do you dare?" "Dare? Time will tell." "What? A life and death showdown, a solution to decide the outcome?" Everyone present was surprised. The solution determines the outcome? 6th-level material residue? Jason was startled, and seemed to hesitate for a moment. Under Redis' disdainful gaze, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, let's determine the outcome with the solution. It's better to choose a different day than to hit it, now. Happily, let's go to the Elixir Master Duel Hall in the Elixir Master Tower now," Redis said cheerfully. "Okay." Jason said nothing nonsense. In everyone's shock, a group of people immediately left the challenge center and walked towards the Elixir Medicine Tower. As he walked around, Redis had a sneer on his lips, thinking secretly in his heart, "This Jason is not yet a 7th-level Imperial Spiritual Master. No matter how strong he is only a 6th-level high-level Elixir Master. With such confidence, he is probably a high-level Elixir Master, the same level as me. However, if he loses because of my choice. Solution duel is my strongest point. Even the 7th-level low-level Elixir Master doesn't dare to say he can beat me. Jason will definitely lose this time." There was a smile on Redis' lips, as if he had already seen the scene where he would win 500,000 points later. What a wonderful moment that would be. Redis' heart was so happy that he was almost intoxicated. RO. Surrounded by everyone, Jason and others arrived at the previous Elixir Tower in a short time. In the Elixir City, there are many places for members to compete. There are small rooms and rooms between individuals, and there are also large places for many people to watch. Showdowns like this between elixirs are usually held in the Elixir Master Tower. On the 2nd floor, there is a dedicated large-scale duel venue. Jason, the new winner of the Continental Elite competition who is a senior disciple in the Elixir Medicine Tower, challenged the old man Redis, who is also a senior disciple, in the Elixir Medicine Tower by using a solution to determine the winner. Bet 500,000 points. The news spread throughout the Elixir Tower like a whirlwind. 500,000 points, and the fact that they were bullying newcomers caused countless members to flock to the Elixir Showdown field in the Elixir Tower. The number was higher than before. The spiritual master duel between C and Leonardo is much more complicated. The 2nd floor of the Elixir Master Tower is the Elixir Science Duel venue. There were probably hundreds of members of the Elixir Medicine Master Tower. After hearing the news, they rushed forward one after another with excited expressions. 50,000 points, converted into spiritual coins, wouldn't it be equivalent to 500 million? Even old people wouldn't dare to play with such a big bet. Then Jason is really talented. Isn't this Jason? Did you just join the Elixir Tower? Why do you already have 500,000 points? What's the origin of this Jason? The entire Elixir Science Duel field was full of discussion and excitement. Many people knew Redis, the notorious man, but as for Jason, many people couldn't help but ask about him. I heard that those guys are the winners of this mainland elite competition. They are the senior disciples who entered our Elixir Master Tower at the same time. When we were in the challenge center, we had already challenged Redis and the others once and lost 25 points. 10,000 points. The Continental Elite competition Isn't it a competition between spiritual masters? How come Jason and Redis are betting on elixirs? A group of spiritual masters? Redis and the others are really making a lot of money, newcomers. It's so easy to cheat. If I had known, I would have cheated newbies' points. A young man said with envy on his face. I heard that Jason and Redis were betting on a life and death showdown. The solution was used to determine the outcome. The solution residue of the 6th level material was used. Oh my god, the 6th level material was really a life and death showdown. I heard that Jason Sen is a 6th level senior spiritual master, right? If you're not careful, you could even lose your life. Everyone was surprised and couldn't believe it. In elixir science, there are many ways to duel, such as Jason's bet on crystals in Spirit Battle City, others such as seeing who can prepare a higher level elixir, and competitions to identify materials, etc. These are not dangerous and can be distinguished. It shows the level of two people in a certain aspect, but it usually doesn't cause any harm. But there are still some that are as dangerous as a duel with a spiritual master. For example, poison testing is a very dangerous kind of gambling. It involves putting a lot of poisons and antidotes together and letting two competing elixirs taste them. While tasting the poison, they detoxify at the same time. Who sticks to it in the end? Whoever has the most variety wins. This kind of competition is extremely dangerous. If low-level poisons are used for gambling, it is fine. If high-level poisons are used for gambling, it will be extremely dangerous for the elixir master. In serious cases, it can even be fatal. The solution to determine the outcome is also an extremely dangerous duel. Its rules and principles are very simple, that is, a third party will take out a lot of solution residues, and then let the two elixirs who are betting against each other mix the solutions with each other based on their own judgment and elixir knowledge. Who can fuse more solutions? As we all know, in the world of elixir science, the elemental structure and energy contained in each material are different. If the two are forcibly poured together, they may merge with each other, or they may repel each other. When a divine solution is continuously poured into and put into a container, the final result is that the structure of the elements becomes more and more unstable, the reaction between them becomes more and more violent, and in the end it explodes. The explosion power caused by different levels of solutions is also different. The first level solution is the weakest, while the 6th level solution is undoubtedly extremely terrifying. When Jason taught Locke of the Mori family to prepare the 5th level high-grade 5 elements potion in Chi'er province, the fusion of the 5 5th level solutions with different properties made Kester and the others tremble with fear. The risk of winning or losing with this solution is much higher than that of preparing the 5 elements potion, but I don't know how much more terrifying it is. Once the residue of the 6th level material reaches the 0 point, it will explode. A 6th level high-level spirit like Jason the master is either dead or injured, and although Redis is a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, it is not completely safe. It is very possible to be seriously injured during the preparation. This is why Redis previously called this a life and death duel. Amid everyone's discussion, Jason and Redis were registering at the front desk of the duel center. After explaining the content and bets of the competition to the staff, Redis took the lead in inputting 500,000 points into the instrument at the front desk, then signed his name on the duel book, and then looked straight at Jason. Master, read the rules carefully. Those guys are too despicable. You must be on guard against them. Rong Xing immediately shouted. Just, let's see if there are any traps in the rules. Dini Shah and others also walked out. The previous scene at the challenge center made everyone full of anger towards Redis and the others. After hearing what Rongxing and the others said, the people on the side also understood the previous situation. When they heard that Redis and Jason, a group of newcomers, were challenging, they actually used cheating to win the game. There was a lot of discussion immediately, and I felt extremely contemptuous. Jason nodded, bet materials worth 500,000 points, and then signed his name after carefully reading every clause in the duel book. This agreement is also a life and death certificate for the two of them. For any casualties that occur during the duel, the other side of the duel does not have to bear any responsibility. The staff took the agreement and began to prepare the materials needed for the competition. In other parts of the continent, it may be extremely difficult to obtain the residual solution of 6th-level materials, but in the elixir tower where countless powerful elixir masters gather, it is extremely easy. In a short time, bottles exude a strong spiritual power. The solution bottle was placed out. The place where the two were dueling was located in a spacious room. The entire room was extremely huge. At first glance, it gave people the feeling of being in a square. In the center of the room, there were 2 huge experimental tables, and on the experimental table, there are dozens of bottles of colorful solutions, exuding a strong spiritual power. On these 2 experimental tables, each bottle corresponds to the other bottle, which is exactly the same. They are 2 equal parts. This is also to ensure the fairness of the duel. A large group of onlookers followed the referee from the Alchemist Tower and came to this room. They were all members of the Alchemist Tower. They had various hair colors and skin colors, some were bald, some had braids, and some had human body shapes. Some are tall, some are very thin. Everyone was waiting and talking. In the center of the room, Jason and Reddy stood in front of their respective experimental tables, looking at each other. "Master, kill that Reddy. Master, come on. Jason, let them know how powerful we are." Melting Saint and Claire were all excited. "Humph, you are a bunch of ignorant guys. Then you will know Brother Redis' accomplishments in solution duel. It's not your fault that you are weak. The fault lies in your ignorance. You are arrogant when you have no ability. Wait a minute. Just cry." Those young men were not to be outdone. Before the game even started, the duel field was already filled with a strong smell of fire. "Jason, thank you for giving me 500,000 points." Retta smiled and was full of confidence. "I hope you won't cry later." Jason also smiled lightly. "Bit." A sharp voice sounded in the room, indicating the beginning of the competition. The 2 people's eyes instantly withdrew from their respective bodies, and then fell on the 50 bottles of densely packed solutions on the experimental table. 50 bottles of solution, each emitting dazzling light, are like beautiful works of art, dazzling, but deadly. Boom! Redis' terrifying 7th Order Advanced Spiritual Consciousness was emitted immediately. The terrifying 7th Order Advanced Spiritual Consciousness immediately spread across the room, continuously seeping into the 50 bottles of solution on the experimental table in front of him, analyzing their compositional structure. In this kind of solution duel, each bottle of solution is randomly arranged by the elixir tower. The 2 players have no idea what these solutions are beforehand. If they want to add more solutions, the first thing to do is to analyze the elemental structure of these solutions. It is best to be able to analyze which 6th-order materials these solutions are the residues of, and then be able to calculate how to match them so that these solutions can coexist as much as possible. This is an extremely difficult analysis. What tests the spiritual master is the most basic identification of the structure and attributes of the solution elements, as well as the degree of coexistence between the various attributes and structures. Of course, this observation is not infinite. Everyone only has 1 minute to choose, and after 1 minute, they must make their first decision. While Redis was analyzing the 50 bottles of solution on the experimental table in front of him with his terrifying spiritual consciousness, Jason was also observing on the other side. His observation was different from Redis' method. Redis used his spiritual sense to analyze the elemental structure in these solutions, but Jason stepped forward and kept pouring bottles of solutions. Picking it up, his eyes widened as if looking at something. Sometimes he would move his hand over the mouth of the bottle twice and use his nose to smell the smell of the solution. What on earth is this Jason doing? Jason's move immediately stunned everyone present. In elixir science, the main way to identify what a solution is to use spiritual consciousness to observe its elemental structure. On the mainland, there are almost countless, however, no matter how similar the two materials are, the elemental structure will not be exactly the same. It can be said that the elemental structure is like the fingerprint of the material, allowing elixirs to tell what they are and what their effects are. But Jason's behavior at this moment made everyone confused. Judging from Jason's actions, Jason clearly wants to identify the materials of these solutions through the color and smell of the solutions. This cannot be said to be a ridiculous thing, because the color and smell of some materials are special, easy for people to recognize at a glance. But when used in a duel with this solution, it would inevitably be too childish, which is really surprising. Because that kind of solution is only a very rare phenomenon. It is impossible to tell what the vast majority of solutions are just from the smell and color. For example, red solution, 80% of fire-based materials will turn red after decomposition, and among the 6th level materials, there are not only 10,000 but also 8,000 types. It is impossible to distinguish what it is just from the color. What, at least for all the elixir masters present, this is true. However, at this moment, in front of the experimental table, Jason was carefully looking at the color of each bottle of solution, shaking it twice from time to time, which was extremely confusing. What on earth is Jason doing? A big question mark popped up in everyone's mind. Even those competitive players who joined Jason's team in the Elixir Master Tower were the same. They didn't know Jason's real ability in elixir science. They were all dumbfounded even though they were proficient. Only a few contestants such as Claire, Sri Lanka, and Dini Shah, who had a deep understanding of Jason's knowledge of elixirs, still felt calm in their hearts. Beep. A brief shout sounded in the room. 1 minute passed quickly. Jason and Reddy's both needed to make a choice within 5 seconds. Reddy's expression was extremely solemn. 1 minute was very short, and these solutions were decomposed from 6th level material residues. Although analyzing solutions was his strength, with the strength of his 6th level senior spiritual master, still, we only had time to analyze 8 of the bottles, and 2 of them didn't even identify what materials they were made of. But at this moment, he had no extra time to think about it. After thinking for a while, he took out a bottle of dark green solution from which he had analyzed the material, and poured it into a huge solution bottle prepared nearby. At the same time, on another experimental table, Jason also took out a bottle of red solution and poured it into a large solution bottle. Both of them made their crucial first choice. After selecting the first bottle of solution, Redis was not distracted at all. His spiritual consciousness spread again and continued to analyze the remaining 42 bottles of solution in front of him. Continue to choose the second bottle of solution, there is still only 1 minute, and he cannot waste even a moment of effort. On the side, Jason continued to pick up bottles of elixirs and observed them. In the room, all the onlookers were whispering at this moment. Is this Jason a spiritual medicine master? Isn't this guy too serious? There were bursts of noisy discussions. At the beginning, when they heard that Jason was the first to propose 500,000 points to challenge Reddy's in the field of elixirs, everyone was filled with great expectations. After all, Jason is a 6th level senior spiritual master. However, as soon as he joins the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, he becomes a senior disciple. This is definitely not something that an ordinary person can do. However, Jason's performance at this moment made them feel extremely disappointed. With Jason's previous performance, they could not feel the strength that any elixir master should have. All they felt was absurd. Yes, ridiculous. At first, Jason observed the color and smelled the smell. Although everyone was suspicious, they still refrained from saying anything. Maybe Jason had his own special method. Instead, Jason's choice of the first bottle of solution made they were all disappointed with Jason. This solution showdown seems to just keep adding solution, but as a method of frequent competition among elixir masters, it actually has its own set of detailed theories. Generally speaking, when there are many solutions to be added, the solution that elixirs should choose should be the one with the most stable structure and the least likely to react with other solutions among the solutions they can observe. Usually, this kind of solution, one characteristic is that because of its stable structure, the spiritual power it emits will fluctuate less than other solutions. In a duel, elixir masters should try to choose this type of solution in order to expand their advantages. There are two solutions that are the most untouchable in the theory of solution duel. One of them is the susceptible solution. As the name suggests, the susceptible solution is very stable when it exists alone, and the spiritual power it emits has very small fluctuations. However, when it comes into contact with other elements, it will be instantly activated and violently interact with other solutions. Reactions, this type of solution, are the most untouchable. The second type is the active solution. Just like its name, the elemental structure of the active solution is extremely active at the beginning and can easily react with other solutions. This is something that elixirs cannot choose. Like a fire-based solution, because of the unique activity of the fire element, it is a universally active solution. The first bottle of dark green solution that Reddies chose previously, the spiritual power emitted fluctuated very little. Most of the people present were masters of elixirs. Many people could see that the elemental structure should be extremely stable. However, the spiritual power fluctuations emitted by the bottle of red solution that Jason chose were so huge that anyone present could clearly sense it if they were elixir masters. This made many people present shake their heads. Beep. Amidst everyone's thoughts, the sharp voice sounded again, which meant that another minute had passed, and Jason and Reddies had to make a choice again. Reddies' brows were still furrowed. In the past minute, he increased his speed and sensed the elemental structures of 8 more bottles of solution, but there were still 2 bottles of solution that he could not sense. The 13 bottles of solutions from which he analyzed the materials kept passing through his mind. Finally, he picked up one of the blue solutions and poured it into the huge solution bottle. The blue solution merged with the previous dark green solution and quickly turned into a blue and green color, like 2 liquids with different densities, entangled with each other, but unable to react. Jason on the side once again picked up a bottle of red solution that exuded strong spiritual power fluctuations and poured it into the huge solution bottle. When 2 streams of red solution come into contact, a bang! A loud noise sounded, and everyone present was startled. A stream of green smoke rose from the solution bottle. The 2 solutions reacted sharply, and then gradually calmed down. Damn, what kind of solution did Jason choose? Why did I feel like it was about to explode just now? Are you mistaken? This Jason really did it because he is a 6th level elixir master. Is it enough status to be awarded a senior disciple? The reaction was so violent after just adding 2 bottles of solution. It would have been really funny if it had exploded before. Even a 5th level elixir master would not have exploded after adding 2 bottles of solution. Many onlookers stared and commented, obviously frightened by the loud noise before. Hey, brother, you are also a new member, right? Do you know Jason's elixir level? Why on earth was he awarded the status of a senior disciple? An onlooker was standing right next to Dini Shah and the others. On the periphery of the group, someone couldn't help but ask a newcomer who had just joined the Elixir Master Tower after participating in the Continental Elite competition. Jason's elixir level? I don't know that. Even if he is an elixir master, I just found out about it. The player shook his head and said, as for why he was awarded the status of a senior disciple, I think it may be because he won the championship in this elite competition, right? As for Jason's attainments in elixir science, these players who are also participating in the mainland elite competition don't know, so they can only answer based on their own conjectures. Gah? Then Jason is the champion of your mainland elite competition? This is impossible, he has not even reached the 7th level of the low-level Emperor spiritual master. After hearing what this player said, the man from before was stunned, and the rest of the onlookers around him were also stunned. The information given by that player made them all dumbfounded. Jason is indeed the champion of our Continental Elite competition. On the side, the other two players also confirmed. Seeing the expressions of the players, the onlookers could tell that what they said was true, but they couldn't believe it. How did Jason obtain the title of a 6th-level senior spiritual master? Those who won the championship of this Continental Elite competition, especially those who have watched the competition between Leonardo and Redis before, then Leonardo is a player who even defeated Redis by cheating. Could it be that Leonardo is no match for Jason either? No one dared to think about it for a while, and all kinds of speculations were popping up in everyone's mind. However, as members of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, they all knew that there would be no special privileges in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, even if Jason is the champion of this mainland elite competition, but since he has not reached the 7th-level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master, then he who has become a senior disciple must be an elixir master above the level of a 6th-level low-level elixir master. Then Jason's solution bottle is going to explode. While everyone was in agitated mood and talking one after another, someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, which immediately attracted everyone's attention to the competition. I saw the giant solution bottle next to Jason in the middle of the room, emitting bursts of white smoke. The solution in it was boiling violently, emitting terrifying spiritual power fluctuations. The expressions of everyone present changed instantly. At this moment, 5 minutes have passed since the start of the game. Jason and the others added the 5th bottle of solution. In these 5 minutes, Redis used his terrifying 7th-level advanced solution for almost all 50 bottles of solution. The spiritual consciousness was analyzed. In this process, Redis used his 6th-level advanced elixir master's strength to analyze the raw materials of 41 of the 50 solutions, and the remaining 9 solutions, it is impossible to distinguish. But knowing the 41 solutions is enough. Next to him, in his giant solution bottle, the solution has turned light green at this moment, and small bubbles are rising continuously, exuding the fluctuations of spiritual energy, which are not very powerful, indicate the reaction between the solutions. On the other side, the giant solution bottle next to Jason looked a little scary. Streams of red solution continued to rise, making a shishi sound, and bursts of white smoke filled the air from the solution bottle. The terrifying spiritual power fluctuations contained in it made everyone change their color. Some weak onlookers even avoided Jason's side and hid behind the crowd. Now, the competition ground is no longer calm. No one is optimistic about Jason. With the addition of the 5th bottle of solution, the solution has already given out such a violent and terrifying reaction that it is about to explode. People can't help but sigh. Haha, a young man laughed and said, "This Jason is really overestimating his abilities. He dares to challenge Brother Redis with 500,000 points. Who do you think you are?" Another young man also gloated and said sarcastically, "It's so unstable after adding 5 bottles of solution. Even if it doesn't explode now, it will definitely explode when the next bottle of solution is added. 5 bottles of solution, hee, it's really a magic medicine. Master, you are so great, I admire you, I admire you." Haha. All the young men were laughing, and the room was noisy. In fact, adding 5 bottles of solution to react to this level is not too bad for you. An ordinary 6th-level elixir master can probably reach this level. After all, this place is full of 6th-level material residues, and they are irregular. They need to be added every minute, and the reactions between them are extremely difficult to grasp. But at this time, the other party didn't care about this and just laughed at Jason, trying his best to be sarcastic. "Little brother, I advise you to give up quickly. This is a 6th-level material. Once it explodes, the power is extraordinary. Yes, 500,000 points is a lot, but compared with my own life, it is still nothing. It's worth remembering. Don't engage in a fight of will and cause unnecessary casualties." several members kindly tried to dissuade him, hoping that Jason would give up the competition and admit defeat on his own. Among the onlookers, some were sarcastic, some were happy, and some were sympathetic, with various expressions and faces. Now, no one was keeping quiet, it was all noisy. At the beginning, they still had certain hopes for Jason, but they didn't expect that they would be so disappointed. Humph, came a cold snort. On the other side, Redis glanced at Jason, but did not say anything. Instead, he continued to think about the next steps. He did not relax at all until the result came out. At this moment, even Leonardo and Sophia were very disappointed, not to mention the other players. They were silent on the sidelines, wondering why Jason was so vulnerable. Among the crowd, only Claire and Sri Lanka were clenching their fists tightly and looking nervously at the center of the room. Although they didn't understand why the reaction was so violent after adding only 5 bottles of solution, the result was before coming out, I still had great hopes for Jason. It's really annoying. Hearing the shouts of the young people on the side, Rongxing was very depressed and glared at them in the distance, but his heart was full of worry. As a 6th-level low-level elixir master, he didn't understand what happened to Jason. The addition of these 5 bottles of solution is really unreasonable, especially the choice of the first bottle of solution. Even if he goes up, although he may not do better than Jason now, he will not make such a low-level mistake. In the center of the room, Jason's face showed no expression. He no longer continued to observe the 45 bottles of solution remaining on the experimental table, nor did he think hard like Reddy's. Instead, he stood up and faced people around the room shouted, "Apart from this Redis, is there anyone willing to bet with me?" As soon as Jason said these words, everyone present was stunned, and then let out a huge roar. The noise. Is Jason crazy? He still wants to bet against others at this time? Even if he is unwilling to give up, he should be like Reddy's, thinking hard about the solution that needs to be added next, instead of spending time you're wasting it on this. He's just a lunatic. How can such a person exist in this world? Everyone in the duel room was talking about it, especially the young men who were laughing loudly and making nonsense. What are you betting on? Although you have a lot of mortgaged materials, they can only be used for 500,000 points. Do you still have points? Who will bet with you if you don't have points? It's ridiculous to scream here. I don't know what to say. With such little strength, he even called Brother Reddy's before. It really shocked me. It turns out that he only has this little strength. You don't know the heights of the world, haha. In the center of the room, Jason looked calm. According to the rules, after the 5th bottle of solution is added, each player has 5 minutes to think about it between adding 2 bottles of solution. Now that only 2 minutes have passed, he still has enough time. Who bets with me? This is the bet between me and Redis. If I lose, I will lose as many points as you give out. Jason looked around, ignoring the intense boiling around him, and the emanating looking at the solution with terrifying spiritual power fluctuations. He looked at everyone. This guy is crazy, to be honest. Young man, give in quickly, I'm serious. A middle-aged man couldn't help but advise. I bet you 50,000 points, but do you still have points? One of the young men shouted. In the room, Leonardo took a step forward and persuaded, Jason, don't do this, winning or losing doesn't really matter. Jason, there is still a lot of time in the future, we can start all over again. Even all the time Sophia, who was silent, also stood up. No, I'm going to bet today. I don't believe that I will lose to that Redis. Although it is about to explode now, it can still be maintained, right? Before the result comes out, who knows? Jason shook his head and gritted his teeth. There was a faint hint of red in his eyes, like a gambler who was blinded by gambling, holding a life-saving straw, thinking that he would make a profit. Do you have any materials to exchange for points? If so, I'll bet with you. The young man spoke anxiously again. He didn't want to let go of this opportunity to waste money. There were various voices in the room, and no one believed that Jason would win next. I have it. Jason gritted his teeth and waved his hand, and a large amount of elixir materials appeared on the ground. They were densely packed and filled all over the floor. They were the same as the previous batch, and they were all 5th and 6th level materials. Extremely precious. Waves of spiritual power emanated from those elixirs, which gave people an inexplicable shock. Everyone was shocked and surprised by Jason's generosity. Such a large amount of elixir materials are also worth 600,000 points. If they are mortgaged to the Elixir Master Tower, they can be exchanged for 500,000 points. Many people have fiery eyes in their eyes. Does anyone dare to bet with me? Only 2 minutes left. Jason asked again. At this moment, Jason's space ring still has 1/5 of the materials worth about 300,000 points, but he did not take them out. He knew that he had taken out more than 1 billion worth of materials in one go. The materials will definitely attract the attention of many people, and the remaining materials are elixir materials unique to the territory of chaos. He cannot expose the territory of chaos. This time, everyone is suppressed. It's 500,000 points again, and many people's eyes are hot. I bet, where are the staff, where are the staff? Come here quickly, I have 50,000 points here. A young man on the Redis side shouted anxiously. I'll bet 30,000 points too. Another young man shouted. I bet 50,000. Another young man said excitedly, fearing that others would take his position away. In the room, many onlookers were excited. Although 500,000 points was a lot, if they were high-level disciples with the status of elixir masters, they might not be without them. However, they couldn't lose their dignity and felt that this kind of taking advantage of others was too abominable. And there are still some people who feel that something is fishy. Jason is really too crazy. Among the geniuses who can enter the Alchemist Tower, is there really such a stupid person? They all doubted whether this was a trap set by Jason and Redis. Although Jason and the others were newcomers and Redis and the others were old men, the two parties did not necessarily know each other at all. If such a trap had been set up in advance, if a game is used to cheat everyone's points, it is not impossible. However, in the face of such huge benefits, there are still some people who can't help but join in, but their bets are not big, most of them are 10,000 or 20,000 points. With the participation of the staff, all the materials that Jason had taken out before were brought to the front desk for storage, and 330,000 points were stored in the scoring instrument, of which 250,000 were from the Redis side. A young man gathered together, and the remaining 80,000 were taken out by a few excited disciples who were watching. Beep! At this moment, a crisp chirp sounded in the room, and the 5 minutes of thinking time between the 2 bottles of solution passed quietly. Both Jason and Redis were about to add the 6th bottle of solution. Everyone in the room held their breath, especially those who had accumulated points. Their hearts were in their throats. They looked at Jason and Redis for a moment, waiting for the two to join them. Solution. Suddenly, the air seemed to freeze, and for a moment, the whole room was silent. Not yet in the center of the room, Redis looked solemn, but his eyes were calmer than ever. A slight smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, full of confidence. A bottle of light yellow solution appeared in his right hand, and then slowly poured into the light green, bubbling, and reacting giant solution bottle next to him. Freeze! A rather strong wave of spiritual power spread out, and the reaction of the entire solution became more violent than before. A pungent smell was produced. The combination of the originally light green solution and the light yellow solution, but it turned into gray-brown all of a sudden, and Redis' expression was steady during the violent reaction. This is the best answer he came up with after thinking about it for the past 5 minutes. In fact, it is extremely dangerous to continuously add other solutions to a large pile of disordered solutions. With his 6, the strength of a high-level elixir master can only be analyzed as much as possible, but it cannot be considered perfectly. But in this regard, Redis is strong. This time he succeeded again. The result was exactly as he had imagined. Although the reaction in the giant solution bottle was a bit violent, it was very stable and there was no risk of explosion. After doing all this, Redis immediately looked at Jason aside, with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. Judging from Jason's previous reaction in the solution, no matter what Jason chose this time's solution, the possibility of explosion is more than 90%. Not only Redis, but everyone in the audience had their eyes on the black-haired young man, nervously paying attention to his every move. Shortly after the prompt sounded, on the other side of the center of the room, Jason also reached out and picked up a bottle of solution on the experimental table. His movements were extremely casual, with no trace of nervousness at all. They were as casual as picking up a bottle of drink that he was about to drink, rather than something that could determine the fate of his more than 800,000 points, or even his life. Solution. This indifferent expression and movement shocked everyone and left an indelible impression on everyone's hearts. To be fair, in the same situation, if Jason were replaced by himself, no one present would think that he could be as calm as Jason. At this moment, there was no sound in the room. Even breathing stopped at this moment. All eyes were focused on the bottle of light red solution in Jason's right hand. The light red solution, like a ball of red silk, was poured into the giant solution bottle next to the experimental table under Jason's control. Concubine. Powerful spiritual element fluctuations rose into the sky, and a large amount of violent spiritual elements continued to escape from the solution bottle, filling the entire room and stirring crazily. An indescribable and terrifying spiritual power wave spread out. In the giant solution bottle, the original solution was boiling rapidly. This time it was not only boiling, but more like dancing wildly. The fiery red solution, it expanded instantly and filled the entire solution bottle. Wow! Amidst the terrifying spiritual power fluctuations, everyone exclaimed, their faces changed drastically, and then they retreated crazily. For a moment, almost everyone in the room crowded to the Redis side. Only Claire and a few others were still looking at Jason with worry on their faces. Although Jason and Redis are both in the center of the room and appear to be very close to each other, in fact, in order to show the fairness of the duel and prevent the spiritual elements escaping from the solution bottles of the contestants on both sides from interfering with each other between Jason and Redis, in the center of the room, the elixir tower set up an invisible barrier. Once a duelist's solution bottle explodes, no matter how powerful the explosion is, it can only wreak havoc in his own side of the room, but cannot harm the people in the other side of the room. Feeling the terrifying spiritual power fluctuations at the experimental table, Jason's face was no longer as calm as before. His hands were shaking and he almost threw away the solution bottle he had selected before, and blood oozed quickly from his forehead. A lot of sweat. "Master, come here quickly," Claire said anxiously, her eyes full of worry. "Master, it's too dangerous. Come here quickly, the solution bottle is going to explode." Rong Xing also shouted. Dini Shah, Temujin and others also tried to dissuade Jason from leaving. This is no child's play. Judging from the spiritual fluctuations they felt, once the giant solution bottle exploded, although Jason was strong, as he was at the center of the explosion, he would be seriously injured even if he did not die. Don't think that the mixing of 6th-level materials, no matter how powerful the explosion is only equivalent to that of a 6th-level spiritual master. That is a huge mistake. This mixture of solutions is the combination of riot elements in countless elixir materials, which will happen. No one knows what kind of reactions and changes it will take, and it may be powerful enough to kill anyone. In the history of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, there was once an 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master who was injured on the left side of his body during a duel with a solution of 6th-level materials. His entire left hand and left leg were blown away. This is a blood-like religious coin. But Jason shook his head with red eyes, staring at the giant solution bottle in front of him, looking nervous and unwilling to follow everyone's suggestions. This Jason is really crazy, it's so perverted, it's just life-threatening. Madman, what a madman. Everyone screamed in horror, extremely shocked by Jason's madness, like this was the first time they had seen such a desperate guy. Everyone was waiting for the moment when the giant solution bottle exploded. However, 10 seconds passed, 20 seconds passed, and 30 seconds passed. The giant solution bottle in front of Jason was always in a state of rapid activity. However, it did not explode. Instead, it became somewhat stable. What's going on? Everyone was puzzled. They had already prepared for the explosion, but the reaction in the solution bottle let everyone know that it seemed this hero-son was lucky enough to pass the level again. Many people's hearts were full of loss, but Claire and the others exhaled heavily. Their backs were soaked with sweat from the previous nervousness, and waves of fear surged from the bottom of their hearts. In the center of the room, Jason kept wiping the sweat from his forehead, obviously terrified of what he had just said. Damn, this Jason is so lucky, this didn't even explode, that's okay, the reaction is so violent. What kind of reaction is this? The previous one, the solution bottle, was clearly it was already a small explosion. It was almost, just a little bit close. As long as there was a little more of the solution before, it would definitely explode. But now it happens to be at that equilibrium point, but it is also extremely dangerous. This is Jason's. What luck, really. After a moment of silence, bursts of noisy discussion suddenly came from the room, and he was surprised that the solution next to Jason didn't explode. Many people regretted it, and some members who had previously suspected that Jason and Reddy's were playing tricks wanted to beat themselves up for missing such a great gambling opportunity. If Jason's previous solution can still be saved, now, the solution next to Jason has completely reached the explosion limit. Let alone adding the solution, as long as there is a slight movement, the entire giant solution bottle will explode. Nothing will be left. Haha, the duel is still going on. Doesn't Jason want to challenge our Redis brother and let them continue the duel? Boy, I think you should worry about the solution bottle next to you, haha. Don't wait until the next time you add the solution next to you will explode. It's okay, his materials have been secured anyway, even if he is killed by the explosion, we can still get the 250,000 points, don't worry, hee, don't be in a hurry, haha, ha ha ha. The young people in Redis group were all very proud. They had previously spent 250,000 points together. Although they were sure, they were still afraid that Jason would be salty. The fish turned over, but at this time, their hearts were all settled. The other members of the Elixir Tower who had spent 80,000 points also had a hint of joy in their hearts. As long as they were Elixir Masters present, they could see that no matter how good the solution beside Jason was, it was incompetent. Master, let's not have another duel, okay? It's too dangerous. In the room, Claire took 2 steps forward and spoke with great concern. Yes, Master, the giant solution bottle next to you is already like this. Even if no solution is added, it may explode at any time. If more solution is added, Master, Melting Saint also stepped forward, anxious voice. Jason, after a false alarm, Sri Lanka and the others also wiped the sweat from their foreheads and tried to dissuade them. No. Jason looked crazy and gritted his teeth and said, it was so dangerous before and I didn't explode. I feel that God is on my side. I want to continue the duel. Maybe the next bottle of solution will be poured in, and the reaction will be it's calmed down. Hearing Jason's words, many members in the room felt incredible. At this time, Jason still wanted to continue the duel. He really didn't worry about his own life. And he also said that when the next bottle of solution was poured in, the reaction eased. Are you kidding me? Even an idiot can see now that the solution bottle next to him will explode at any time if there is any abnormal movement. Could it be that he himself don't feel it? Master Rongsheng and the others wanted to continue speaking. At this moment, he and Claire, who stepped forward, inadvertently saw that Jason seemed to blink quickly at the two of them. Because of their obstruction, this action was only seen by the two of them, while the rest of the people in the room behind them did not notice it at all. In addition, Jason was sideways, on the other side of the center of the room. It was impossible for Reddies to see Jason's action. This Rongsheng was stunned for a moment, a flash of light flashed through his mind, and he suddenly became enlightened. From the beginning of this whole duel, Jason showed extremely clumsy skills in elixir science and made many low-level mistakes. At the beginning, Rongsheng couldn't figure out why his master was like this, but now, everything was understood in an instant. However, he controlled his excitement very well, and his expression remained the same as before, without any change. Alas! In the eyes of everyone, Melting Saint shook his head in pain, and then pulled Claire, who was stunned, back to the players. There was a look of pain on his face, as if he was annoyed for not being able to dissuade Jason. On the side, Claire's expression was dull and expressionless, which made many people sigh. Everyone was frightened by Jason's stubbornness and madness, without thinking of anything else. Can you still join now? Since the duel has not yet been decided, and you are so confident in yourself, I also want to bet with you. Someone in the room shouted. Yes, I wanted to bet just now, but I really didn't have time. Many people have spoken out one after another. Although the results have not been announced yet, the outcome is completely certain. Many people who were unable to score points before everyone regrets and speaks out with hope in their hearts. You are so shameless. At this time, you still want to earn points from my master. Rongsheng turned his head, his eyes spitting fire, and he spoke angrily. His expression was full of anger, his eyes were slightly red, lifelike. Little brother, you can't say that. It was your master who said you can do it before. It was a bet, I just asked him if he could still join. That's right, that one's called Jason, right? The materials you took out can be mortgaged for 1 million points in the elixir tower. Now the total has been gambled to 830,000 points, and there are still 170,000 points left. Why not gamble them all together? Forget it. Yeah, it's a waste if you keep it. Think about it, if the solution explodes, you will probably lose your life, and all those materials will go to the medicine master tower. If you take them out, if you win the bet, you can earn an additional 170,000 yuan. What a cost-effective thing. Many people in the crowd walked out. There were all elixirs present, and they all saw the solution next to Jason. The bottle will explode as long as there is a slight movement. This time he will lose or not. Since Jason is stupid and unwilling to give up and wants to continue the duel, he might as well take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune if he can. I won't bet anymore. Facing everyone's confusion, Jason said with determination on his face, I've given you a chance before, but you didn't bet on it yourself. Besides, this is a duel between Redis and I. It has nothing to do with you. There are still 10 left. I won't bet with you for 70,000 points. Jason said it was the last word, leaving no room for negotiation. Young man, why are you bothering? Then she won't have any points to bet with you. The 170,000 will be a waste if you don't bet. Some people were unwilling to give up. Who said my brother has no points? On the side, a young man showed an expression of ecstasy on his face, and then shouted to Redis, brother, listen to Jason. It seems that I can bet with you. Yes, brother, this is a good opportunity. Another young man also said excitedly. I still have a total of 100,000 points here, I'll bet with you. In the center of the room, Redis was also excited and laughed out loud. As a 6th-level senior elixir master who has an incomparable understanding of dual solutions, Redis had already seen it, in the solution bottle next to Jason, let alone adding more solution later, even adding a little bit of water will cause a huge explosion. At this moment, even if a 7th-level high-level elixir master replaces Jason, he will be unable to save the outcome of the explosion. This is a win-or-lose situation. Jason's expression looked like extremely hesitant. Young man, is this what you just said? Do you want to regret it? Seeing how courageous you are, I thought you were a good guy, but I didn't expect you to be a good guy. Several members who had previously tried to bet against Jason for points but failed, suddenly became sarcastic, and the bad nature of human nature was undoubtedly revealed. Finally, Jason reluctantly agreed, and Redis drew another 170,000 from his identity card. The points were transferred to the staff's instruments. Leonardo and the others shook their heads and couldn't bear it. They only hoped that Jason would react in time during the explosion later and not be hurt. Beep, a crisp chirping sounded in the room, and the 5 minutes of thinking time between the 2 bottles of solution passed quietly. Both Jason and Redis were about to add the 7th bottle of solution. Redis did not hesitate, and had already based on the results he had thought about. He picked up a bottle of solution on the experimental table and poured it into the giant solution bottle. Boom! A subtle explosion sounded, and a violent fluctuation of spiritual power spread out in the room. The solution in the giant solution bottle next to Redis began to boil rapidly, making people feel extremely terrifying. That's it. Redis himself was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat, but fortunately, although the reaction in the solution was violent, it did not explode. A bright smile appeared on Redis' face, a smile of victory, and he looked at Jason aside. At this sight, he was suddenly stunned. Based on Jason's previous performance, he thought that the expression on Jason's face would be one of death. However, what surprised him was that compared to the previous nervousness, Jason seemed to have changed at this moment. An average person. His expression was extremely dull, with a faint smile on his lips. Even his eyes, which were previously crazy and red, returned to normal. Redis was startled for no reason, and a bad feeling suddenly emerged from his heart. He shook his head, trying to get rid of this feeling. At this moment, the overall situation was decided, and he didn't realize that the opponent could come back. However, this unpleasant feeling was like a tarsal maggot, firmly grabbing him and occupying his heart. This Jason. Others in the room also felt the change in Jason's expression, and they were puzzled. 1,000,000 points, I hope you will be willing to admit defeat later. Facing everyone's gaze, Jason said indifferently. TCH, why are you pretending to be mysterious? Hurry up and pour the solution. Once the time has passed, you will automatically admit defeat. Some people didn't bother to say anything, and many senior disciples also shook their heads. It's not that they looked down on Jason, but the solution next to Jason was too scary. Even if a first-level elixir master comes over at this moment, he may not be able to turn defeat into victory. Jason's expression became calmer and calmer. His eyes passed over all the solutions on the experimental table in front of him, and then he steadily picked up the solution. He picked up a bottle of blue solution and poured it into the giant solution bottle that was constantly boiling under everyone's gaze. SSSSSSSSSSS, a strange sound sounded, and an incredible scene happened that made everyone feel. In the eyes of everyone, they originally thought that the solution that would explode if there was any abnormal movement and had been reacting sharply after the bottle of blue solution was poured in, and actually slowly calmed down. Finally, after the blue solution in Jason's hand was poured out, the solution in the entire giant solution bottle became completely silent, like a pool of stagnant water, and no longer felt the slightest trace of water. Spiritual power fluctuated. Everyone in the room seemed to be strangled by the neck, their eyes were wide open and their mouths were wide open, showing disbelief. This impossible. After a while, a voice filled with extreme shock came. On the other side of the room, Redis stared at this scene blankly, with an expression as if he had seen a ghost, and couldn't believe his everything you see and hear. This result also made the members who were facing Jason and waiting for the Jason solution bottle to explode were all dumbfounded and their faces turned green. This result was so unexpected and unacceptable. The gathering actually happened. What? Why is this happening? Who can tell me why this is? Like a powder keg exploding, bursts of unbelievable comments suddenly echoed throughout the room. But no one could explain that the highest status people present were only a group of senior disciples whose attainments in elixir science were at the level of a 6th level senior elixir master. They all had no idea what was going on. Cheating, Jason must have cheated. Staff, Jason's solution bottle should have exploded, but it didn't explode now. This is unreasonable. This Jason is disqualified from the duel. This Jason is too insidious and must have cheated, several young people from Redis group immediately shouted. Why are you cheating? Has blinded you? My master clearly poured the solution in before. Now that everyone is here, they have done nothing else. They are willing to admit defeat and dare to come and play even if they can't afford to lose. Besides, Leonardo and the others had inexplicable surprises on their faces. This twists and turns were almost unbearable for them, while Rongxing directly cursed. The previous duel was fair, and the winner will be decided in the solution. Anything can happen, I only focus on the fairness of the duel. Then Jason did not cheat, the duel continues. Finally, the staff member who was standing nearby to supervise, frowning and saying nothing, said indifferently. Although he didn't understand what happened before, judging from the rules, Jason didn't cheat at all. Behavior. On the side, many spectators looked at Jason's calm expression, but their hearts were filled with turmoil. As the staff member said, in a solution duel, anything can happen. In history, there are many psychic potions are all produced during the solution duel between the elixir masters. Uncertainty is the greatest charm of the solution duel. But Jason's calm expression before adding the solution made everyone think of another possibility. If Jason had accidentally chosen the previous bottle of solution and was lucky enough to prevent the solution from exploding, everyone would still be able to accept it, but if Jason had known the result for a long time, then many people would have thought so. I can't even imagine it. How much profound knowledge of elixirs is required to be able to do this? At least, according to their estimation, even a 7th level senior elixir master, in the previous situation, can't do it like Jason? This is also the most important reason why they thought Jason would definitely lose. The duel continued, and everything in the room was different at this moment. Everyone looked at Jason no longer with contempt or disdain, but with an inexplicable look, as if what they were looking at this moment was not a person, but a terrifying monster, with a deep feeling. Deep fear and fear. On the other side of the room, Redis looked anxious, with sweat dripping down his body and a look of fear. Redis, you lost. I advise you to admit defeat and don't make a pointless struggle. Looking at Redis, Jason said calmly, with a smile on his lips, giving him advice. Just as Melting Saint thought, some of the previous ones were all pretended by Jason. Based on Jason's knowledge and profound knowledge as a 9th level elixir master in his previous life, Jason had identified all the materials of the current 50 bottles of solution one by one as early as 1 minute after the first solution. The solution determines life and death. What tests the elixir master is the knowledge of the world's materials and the knowledge of the reactions between elements. Although Jason's physical strength is now at the peak of the 8th level, in terms of knowledge, Jason is completely a 9th level elixir saint. At the master level, and the solution in front of him was all made of 6th level material residues, there was no pressure at all for Jason. Even if an 8th level elixir master came to duel with Jason, he would probably be killed by Jason, let alone Redis, a 6th level elixir master. Even if he, no matter how experienced and knowledgeable he is in solution duels, he can only be fooled by Jason. The reason why Jason pretended not to understand anything before was to get Redis and the others to take the bait. Although he won the duel directly and could get 500,000 points, he needed 950,000 to purchase those materials. Points, not to mention that of the 500,000 points, there are still 250,000 that they lost to the other party due to the other party's cheating. Even if they win, it is difficult to understand Jason's hatred. Faced with this guy, Jason naturally doesn't mind giving the other party a hard lesson. No, the duel is still going on. You are just unlucky. It should be you who loses, it should be you. Redis suddenly became extremely crazy and roared. His expression, he looked ferociously and anxiously at the remaining solution on the experimental table. Time passed by, and Redis felt invisible pressure in his heart. His forehead was covered with sweat, and he could no longer think calmly. He was completely confused. In the room, the group of young people who had bet against Jason, they also panicked. Beep. At this moment, the sound indicating that the time was up sounded, and everyone was shocked, and their eyes fell on Jason and Redis. This time, Jason, who was always slow to beat Redis' son, was the first to move. He inadvertently picked up a bottle of solution left on the experimental table, and then poured it into the giant solution bottle at will. Waves of tiny bubbles popped up in the giant solution bottle. An extremely subtle fluctuation of spiritual energy was produced, which was so calm that people could hardly believe their own perception. "It's your turn." Jason looked at Redis with a smile on his lips. Redis couldn't help but tremble all over. Originally, he had hoped that Jason would explode when he added the 8th bottle of solution. However, the outcome was extremely disappointing to him, and his eyes turned completely despairing. Redis' eyes kept looking back and forth in the solution in front of him, but there was an incomparable struggle in his eyes, and he was not sure. 7 bottles of solution was almost his limit. At this moment, even though he knew that all the solutions he had added before were what? But he can no longer calculate the reaction between them, let alone what will happen after adding the 8th bottle. In other words, now he can only rely on his own luck. As time passed by second, I saw the final time limit. Redis could only grit his teeth and picked up one of the bottles of green solution. After seeing the bottle of solution he picked up, the one on the other side, Jason shook his head inconspicuously. With a nervous expression, Redis poured the green solution into the giant solution bottle like a prayer. Bang! A burst of explosions sounded, and the 2 solutions were quickly combined together in the giant solution bottle. The solution bottle, which originally exuded strong fluctuations in spiritual power, was generating even greater fluctuations at this moment, but in a place that could within the acceptable range. No explosion occurred. "Brother Redis, you are so awesome, no explosion, no explosion," several young people from Redis group immediately cheered loudly. In front of the giant solution bottle, Redis also showed a trace of ecstasy on his face, but before the excitement on his face could last for a few seconds, a strong spiritual power suddenly burst out from the giant solution bottle like an ignited explosive barrel. Concubine! A huge roar sounded, like a silent volcano erupting, and the terrifying spiritual power was like a hurricane, sweeping across half of the room in an instant. A majestic force erupted from the center, like a roaring river rolling back. When he came out, there were bursts of thunder, and the rumbling sound was deafening. The entire competition room seemed to have become a hell on earth at this moment. Everyone's color changed. At some point, everyone present came from the room on Redis' side to Jason's side. They stared at the horrific explosion in stunned silence. The astonishing explosion only lasted for a moment and then dissipated. The center of the room was in a mess. Redis stood in the corner of the room. From his body, green wood-type spiritual power continued to emit. A spiritual barrier was formed to protect it. On the surface, Redis didn't seem to have suffered any injuries. However, when he removed the spiritual barrier, poof, a mouthful of blood suddenly spat out from his mouth, and his face turned pale. The body was swaying and he was almost unsteady on his feet. The previous explosion was too violent, and he was too close. Even though he was prepared, he still suffered a lot of injuries in his haste. However, compared to the injuries to his body, the injuries to his heart were more serious. I actually lost? A murmur came from his mouth. His eyes were dull, and combined with his swaying body, it gave people an unspeakable sense of stubbornness. "No, I can't lose, then Jason is cheating, he is cheating, this duel does not count." Redis shouted loudly, looked at Jason with his eyes, and then his whole body. Suddenly, the ground rushed forward. Claire and others suddenly rushed in front of Jason and stopped Redis. An inexplicable coercion emanated from everyone. As long as Redis had the possibility of taking action, they didn't mind all taking action. Redis, what do you want to do? The staff of the alchemist tower also came to the middle of the two sides at this moment, looking at Redis with angry faces. Seeing the staff member, Redis' body couldn't help but trembled, and the murderous intent in his eyes faded away. Only then did he remember where he was now. Once he took action, the punishment he would face would be unbearable for him. Haha, isn't it just 500,000 points? As a senior disciple and an old man in the elixir master tower, I don't think you can bear it, right? Haha. At this moment, Rongxing's face was finally filled with brilliant expressions. Smile and laugh out loud. Humph, he just cheated on us earlier. Now you know the pain. 500,000 points is not too much for you. 70,000? A total of 670,000. I remember that of the other 330,000 points, 250,000 also belong to their group, right? Doesn't that mean they lost 920,000 in one game? Hey, dear, this is a big deal. Newcomers like us don't have the courage to make a real deal. Jason's group, many people burst into laughter and felt extremely happy. In the previous competition between Leonardo and Redis, they both lost some points because of Redis cheating. Coupled with the other's arrogant and sarcastic attitude, everyone had long been against him. Redis and his group were full of dissatisfaction, and now they finally had a chance to take revenge. Everyone was not stingy with their words and hit each other hard. In fact, there is no need for the other party to tell me. When he thought about the so many points he had lost, Redis turned pale and almost fell to the ground. Even though they were all high-level disciples, in fact, the elixir master had to use points. There are many places, and their points are not rich. In addition to the 250,000 points they gained from defeating Jason and the others, they only have a total of more than 700,000 points. Now they have lost 670,000 points. 10,000, they only have less than 100,000 points left, and they are so depressed that they want to vomit blood. For a long time to come, they can only earn points by refining medicine for the spiritual pharmacist tower, otherwise they have no other choice. When they thought that the results of their hard work for several months were suddenly won by others, their eyes became a little dark. The original intention was to defraud others of points, but in the end they lost all their money. Is there anything more suicidal than this? Honestly, if you weren't greedy, you would only lose 500,000 points at most, but Jason came to the crowd and shook his head. It's just bad luck. There's nothing to be proud of. Redis gritted his teeth and said fiercely. Are you lucky? With a smile on his face, Jason came back to his giant solution bottle. Under everyone's horrified eyes, Jason quickly picked up a bottle of solution and poured it directly into it. Giant solution bottle. Everyone was so frightened that they ran away, wondering what Jason was going crazy about. However, after Jason poured out a bottle of solution, he did not pause. He picked up another bottle of solution, poured it in, and then picked up another bottle and another, and in the horrified eyes of everyone, Jasonson poured 5 bottles of solution into the giant solution bottle in a row. Even the 8 bottles he poured at the beginning made a total of 13 bottles. However, all the solutions in the giant solution bottle did not explode. Instead, they continued to react and bubbles appeared. Everyone was stunned. Among all the senior disciples present, many had profound knowledge in solution duels, but the strongest one among them only poured 10 bottles of solution without causing an explosion. At this moment, Jason's accomplishments in solution duel completely surpassed all of them, leaving everyone in the room stunned. What kind of monster is this Jason? The 6th level material residue solution can actually be poured into 13 bottles, but it is safe and sound. This guy is too perverted. I am also a 6th level high-level elixir master, but in the end a good one only poured 8 bottles without explosion. And this Jason poured 5 bottles of solution in succession before. Did he not consider the reaction between elements at all? Even a 7th level spirit, the Medicine King Master, may not be able to do what he is. Really, many people were shocked and couldn't calm down. Many people present are elixir masters, and they all know what Jason is doing at this moment. Don't underestimate the difficulty. It seems like it's just an ordinary pouring of 5 bottles of solution in a row without explosion. In fact, this aspect is extremely profound. Everyone knows that even a 7th level elixir master may not be able to do it. But Jason did it. And it was so easy to do, and it seemed to take no effort at all, which shocked everyone. After Redis saw what Jason had done, his originally pale face became even weaker. His eyes widened and his mouth opened, but he couldn't say anything. If he hadn't realized until now that all Jason had done was to lure him into taking the bait, he wouldn't be worthy of being a senior disciple. "You brat, you're cheating on me." After a while, his body was trembling and he made a sound, his vision turned black and he almost fainted. With Jason's previous skills in solution duels, it would be easy to defeat him. However, Jason showed great clumsiness from the first bottle of solution and made many mistakes, step by step, slowly. A hole was dug. The sad thing is that he didn't know it was a trap, so he jumped in stupidly. When Jason said that he could only gamble with himself for 170,000 points, the joy in Redis' heart was indescribable. But now, he even has the desire to die. "You are betting against my master and you are greedy and want to win all the points from him. What does it have to do with my master?" Rong Xing snorted coldly. At this moment, the hearts of several other young people were also bleeding. Many of their points were concentrated on Redis identity cards. But they would also have some on themselves, but all those 250,000 points were lost to Jason. There were also several members of the Elixir Tower who wanted to take advantage of the points, but they felt extremely regretful but helpless. He didn't say anything, he could only blame himself. Just greedy. Everyone else is lucky. Most of them had their hearts set on it before. However, due to various reasons, they did not use their points to gamble, which was how they recovered their losses. In the laughter of Rongxing and others, the staff verified the results of this duel, and then input all 1 million points in the instrument into Jason's identity card. "Haha, 1 million points, Master, it's so exciting." Although these points are not from Melting Saint, he still couldn't hide the joy in his heart. Then Rongxing glanced at the Redis who were not far away, with their eyes spitting fire, and said loudly in the Elixir Science duel on the 2nd floor, "It's good to join the Elixir Master Tower." As soon as we entered, a group of idiots came over to deliver them in person. "Give us points, TSK, TSK." He was so enthusiastic that we all couldn't bear it. Pfft. Seeing this scene, Redis was so angry that he couldn't hold back anymore and spewed out another one. Blood. He was almost mad. Brother, are you okay?" Several young people hurriedly gathered around. "You brat, this matter is not over yet," one of them roared. "Damn, what the hell, even if you come, Grandpa, am I still afraid of you?" Rong Xing fought back without hesitation. In the Medicine Master Tower, although the rules encourage all members to compete, there is a premise that each other cannot endanger their lives. If a member dares to attack another member because of personal hatred, if retaliation directly or indirectly leads to the death of other members, then the member will be classified as a traitor. Not only himself, but also his family and force will be severely punished by the Elixir Master Tower and bear the thunder from the Elixir Master Tower. Angry. This was originally intended to prevent some forces from sending members to join the Elixir Tower and then use various means to assassinate the geniuses in the Elixir Tower. However, it has developed to this point to protect all disciples, even if one of them may inherit the entire Elixir Tower. The core disciple of the tower is a peripheral disciple who only comes in to study normally. The core disciple can teach the lower-level disciples a lesson, but if he dares to kill the lower-level disciples because of personal hatred, he will also be wiped out and his family will be implicated. and power. Of course, like the previous showdown between Redis and Jason, if any accident occurred and resulted in the death of a member, this would not be included. However, for things like duels to be effective, both parties must agree, and openly killing people in a duel is not allowed. In short, in the Medicine Master Tower, any rules strongly encourage competition and fighting among members, but killing is absolutely not allowed. This is one of the reasons why Rongsheng and the others are not afraid at all when they offend Redis and the others. Of course, what is more important is Rongsheng and the others' confidence in their own strength. Anyone who can enter here is not a genius. They are all aloof and full of arrogance. If anyone dares to offend him, he will naturally fight back. This is their principle of doing things. After accepting all the points and getting back all the elixir materials that were mortgaged at the front desk, under the eyes of a large group of people, Jason and others, who had won the duel, left the second floor of the elixir tower in a majestic manner. "I've won so many points, let's go, I'll treat everyone to dinner." Jason laughed lightly. "Okay." Leonardo and the others laughed and were extremely excited. Only a stunned group of people were left. Not long after Jason and the others left, in a short time Jason's group and Reddy, the challenge from C and his group was like a storm, sweeping through the entire Elixir Master Tower in an instant. Points betting duels like this are actually very common in the Alchemist Tower. They happen almost every moment. However, the battle between Jason's group and Reddy's group still shook the entire Alchemist Tower. Countless people paid attention to this incident. There are two main reasons for this sensation. One is the terrifying points of up to 1 million. 1 million points, converted into spiritual coins, is a full billion. This is an extremely large number. You know, in the Elixir Master Tower, you must exchange points for anything you do. Although many disciples are of high level, they don't have many points. Even some senior disciples who are 6th level senior elixir masters have being able to have hundreds of thousands of points is already extremely huge. Just like the Redis group, all the points on the identity cards of several senior disciples add up to more than 700,000 points, but now they have lost only there are tens of thousands of points left. The second reason is Jason's strength. When those members of the Alchemist Tower who had not seen this duel heard from other members that Redis, a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, almost lost to a 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master in the spiritual master duel. When Leonardo, the master of the division, finally won the victory using almost cheating methods, everyone's faces were full of surprise. And when they heard what happened between Jason and Reddy's in the solution duel after the incident, everyone was stunned. 13 bottles of 6th level material residue solution were poured in continuously without exploding. Even some 7th level low-level elixir masters could not do it, and like Jason, in the end 5 bottles were poured in almost at the same time. Even a 7th level high-level elixir master must weigh whether he is sure of this. Many people ask themselves that they cannot do it, but they are beaten by a new Elixir Master Tower. The members of the team did it, which shocked everyone greatly. You know, Jason and the others had just joined the Alchemist Tower for 1 day, but what about Reddy's and the others? They had been in the Alchemist Tower for many years. They are old men. Don't look at Redis and his group, they all look like a group of young people. That's just because they are all Emperor spiritual masters who have advanced to the 7th level. They look young in age, but in fact, he is in his 30s. Without special opportunities, it would not be an extremely easy task for Redis and others to be promoted to the 7th level Elixir Master. It is even very likely that they would be stuck in the 6th level Elixir Master for the rest of their lives. At the level of Master. The 7th level is a huge threshold for both spiritual masters and elixir masters. Only 1 out of 10 can cross it. Jason, who has just joined the Elixir Master Tower, is an out-and-out young man. Although everyone does not know Jason's specific age, he is definitely not more than 30. But his attainments in elixir medicine are barbaric. They need to be more profound. What is the concept of a senior elixir master who is less than 30 years old? According to historical experience, as long as Jason works hard, becoming a 7th level elixir master is basically a sure thing. This is because the elixir master tower is located in another space. All the members in the tower have no communication with the outside world and can only get some basic information about Jason and the others from other channels. If they knew that Jason is only 22 now, if you are 20 years old, I don't know how scared you will be. However, many people also feel a little worried about Jason and the others' arrogance. It's okay that Redis and the others are just senior disciples, but Redis' eldest brother Paltrow is one of the core disciples of the Elixir Master Tower. The low-level Emperor, Spiritual Master, the 7th level low-level Elixir Master, is famous in the Elixir Master Tower. It is impossible for him to let go when his younger brother is bullied. As soon as Jason and the others entered the Elixir Master Tower, they offended such a person. No. This is really not a wise move. When the core disciples' deeds of Jason and Redis caused a stir among the disciples of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, 3 figures were sitting together in a room on the upper floor of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. With a smile on his face. These little guys are really troublesome. They caused such a sensation as soon as they came in. Sitting at the head was an old man with a gray beard, wearing a worn-out elixir robe. He was the man who presided over the mainland. The Elixir Tower Elder of the Elite Competition, Klin. But sitting next to him were 2 masters, Benjamin and what? Haha, Elder Sevlin, we have already heard about Redis bullying newcomers, but they didn't break any rules, so naturally no one paid attention to them. Unexpectedly, this time, they actually found them. Master Jason and the others, it's time to kick the iron plate. Haha. What also laughed out loud, his eyes narrowed, his expression full of joy. Jason and the others have just entered the Alchemist Tower. As the person in charge of this continental elite confrontation with the Alchemist Tower, Jason and the others are actually of their lineage. Naturally, Kevlin has been paying attention to it. Hey, let's compete with Master Jason in a solution competition. Benjamin shook his head with a wry smile on his face. I really don't know what medicine you mentioned that Redis took the wrong medicine. Although Master Jason is only a 6th level senior, he is a master of elixirs, but in terms of attainments in elixirs, even we have to be inferior. If we compete with solutions, as long as we are within his level, even we will be defeated. Benjamin and What both said it was a nod. This was not a compliment from them. Besides, they didn't need to compliment Jason. This was what they had realized during the half-year journey from the northwest of the mainland to Lingdo City. During those 6 months, What, Benjamin, and Jason would often discuss together and study the difficulties encountered in elixirology. What impressed What and Benjamin the most was Jason's attainments in basic elixirology, that kind of familiarity with materials and understanding of the reactions between elements, even they are deeply inferior to it. Haha, don't worry about them. Nothing will happen to them in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. We just need to pay attention silently. And the matter I reported was agreed to by the superiors. Kevlin said with a smile. Voice. What? Elder Coughlin, did your superiors really agree to that matter? What said with surprise on his face. Well, this is the skill I got. Benjamin, What, you will give this skill to Jason tonight. Judging from his performance today, it is not in vain that I said so many good things for him, that's why I got this skill book in advance. As he spoke, Kevlin took out a wooden box from his body and handed it to What's hand. What nodded and solemnly placed the wooden box into the space ring. And Benjamin, the wave-particle duality of the essence particles of spiritual elements that you and Jason have studied is very promising. It has brought great help to the most essential and basic research on spiritual medicine. Now you have become the protector of our Elixir Master Tower. However, with the strength of your 7th level high-level Elixir Master and your 7th level low-level Elixir Master, you are still a little weak in the tower, so I can only win this for you. After your strength improves, I will find a way to give you more rights. Kevlin said softly. I understand. Benjamin nodded, but his eyes were full of confidence, and said, Elder Kevlin, don't worry, I won't embarrass you. In the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, the General Guardians are 8th level low-level ones. The Imperial Spiritual Master, and the 7th level low-level Elixir Master, are also the minimum conditions for an Elixir Master to become a protector. His own strength is indeed a bit weaker, but Benjamin is still very confident in his talent. The reason why he is weak at this level is just because in the past 20 years, he has been immersed in studying the essential particle characteristics of spiritual elements and has not practiced properly. Now that he has completely calmed down, he believes that with his talent as a spiritual master, he can advance to the next level. Although the 8th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master may encounter difficulties, in terms of spiritual medicine, it is not impossible to advance to the 7th level Intermediate Spiritual Medicine Imperial Master or even the high-level Spiritual Medicine Imperial Master within a few years. In that case, let's go do something. Kevlin said with a faint smile. As the Elder of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, although there is no major conflict of interest among the various factions in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, they occasionally compete with each other. Originally, he had no interest in hosting spiritual master competitions such as the Continental Elite Competition. He was interested, but when it was his turn, he had no choice but to accept it. However, he did not expect that being able to get 2 elixir masters like Benjamin and Jason made Coughlin very satisfied. Especially Jason's response to Reddy's and the others today made Elder Coughlin extremely appreciative. This is a world where the weak prey on the strong. If a spiritual medicine master wants to become a truly strong person, the most important thing is not talent, perseverance, or hard work, but a strong heart that refuses to admit defeat. Jason, however, satisfied all of them and made Coughlin full of expectations for him. While the entire Elixir Tower was shocked by Jason's deeds, Redis and others, who had been brutally slaughtered, came to a place deep in the Elixir City. Brother, you have to avenge me. Redis lowered his head and knelt on the ground. His face no longer had the arrogance and publicity in the morning, but only endless grievances. Then Jason not only defrauded me of 920,000 points, but also humiliated me severely. You must avenge me. Redis complained with anger on his face. This is an ancient courtyard, located deep in the Elixir City. The air is full of spiritual energy, making people feel refreshed. This is the forbidden area of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, which is specially used for the core disciples to retreat. No one dares to come in at will on weekdays. For senior disciples and below, this is the forbidden area of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. In the courtyard, the carved balustrades and pavilions are so rich in aura that they almost turn into mist. In the middle of the courtyard, there is a medicinal field with dozens of elixirs planted there, all of which are high-level elixirs of level 6 or above. There are several medicinal plants in the middle. King, the fragrance is astonishing, the plant is clear and sparkling. If Rongxing and the others come in, they will definitely be surprised, because these medicine king plants are all 7th level elixirs. 7th level elixirs are all natural materials and treasures. They have their own growth environment and are extremely difficult to successfully plant, but there are so many here, which is really shocking. Everything in the courtyard is very simple, without any luxury, and in the center of the courtyard is a black jade stone chamber. In the stone chamber, a green-haired man sits cross-legged on it, with spiritual energy lingering around him, motionless. He has a majestic appearance, green hair shawl, face as sharp as a knife, sword-shaped eyebrows at the temples, eyes that seem to contain endless lust, unfathomable, like a king coming to this world, looking down at the earth. Redis was kneeling in front of the stone chamber, looking at the stone chamber in front of him. Brother, why don't you say anything? Can you bear to see my little brother make a fool of himself like this? If Jason dares to treat me like this, he obviously doesn't give you face. If you don't take action, those people in the Spirit Medicine Master Tower will think you are. I'm afraid, it's not me who's laughing, it's you. Redis was very unwilling and expressed his grievance. I have long said that bullying newcomers is not a good way to earn points. You earn little and the risk is high. Once the other party grows up, it will be easy for them to settle accounts with you. And before bullying, you must at least know the details of the other party. Ching, your loss today will probably take away all the points you earned from bullying newcomers in the past few years. Paltrow said calmly. Brother Ladis couldn't help complaining, you are a core disciple, so naturally you don't know the difficulties of our senior disciples. You don't need points to practice on any trial island, and there are quotas for trials every year. You don't need to spend points on many secret realm treasure hunting adventures. Once you prepare an imperial elixir, you can get a lot of points. But I am only a senior disciple. In the Elixir Master Tower, it is impossible to move forward without points. Okay. Needless to say, I have also been a senior disciple. I didn't know you. You only know how to earn points if you don't learn anything all day long. There are 500,000 points here. You take them first. In these days, you can give them to me. Practice hard. You have been a senior disciple for some years. You should know that everything in this Elixir Master Tower is imaginary. Only strength is real. Before you advance to the 7th level low-level Elixir Master and become a core disciple, I don't want to see you causing trouble again. Okay, please step aside, I'm going to practice. Paltrow took out a card from his body, threw it into Redis' hand, and issued an eviction order. Brother Redis shouted with great reluctance. Seeing that Paltrow had closed his eyes, he stood up and left helplessly. I'm in the process of completing the test recently. When I finish the test, I will go out and help someone avenge this person. Don't always think about how to get revenge on others. Just practice hard for me. Do you hear me? Right here. At this time, a deep voice sounded from behind Redis again. Redis trembled all over, his face was full of joy, and he said excitedly, "Yes, big brother." This time, Redis' steps were relaxed, and when he walked out, even his body felt a little lighter. I don't know how long it will take for my eldest brother to pass the test. Now he is already an 8th level low-level Emperor Spirit Master and a 7th level low-level Elixir Master. When he talks about breaking through the test, I don't know which one he is talking about. Ladis shook his head. Humph, Jason, let you be proud for a while first. Reddy's eyes had a cold smile. When my eldest brother completes the challenge, it will be the end of you, haha. For this, Jason was naturally unaware of everything that happened in the Elixir Master Tower. At this moment, Jason, who was staying in his 2-story villa, was looking at the pile of materials in front of him for preparing the 8th level Emperor level 5 element reincarnation potion. My heart is filled with joy and excitement. This morning, the Leiyu division and others were severely repaired. Afterwards, Jason and the others happily went to a restaurant called Shinbao Pavilion in the Elixir City and ate to their heart's content. Jason and the others are spiritual masters, and they are not practicing asceticism. Many people have their own hobbies, and eating is one of them. Although this Elixir City is located in another dimension, Jason and others were worried that there would be nothing delicious in it. However, once they entered, everyone was shocked. In this treasure pavilion, there are countless delicious ingredients, many they are all cooked with rare animals and plants, and even some rare parts of high-level spiritual beasts, which is really jaw-dropping. The group of people immediately became more distinguished. There were more than 30 people in total. They ordered a lot of dishes and a lot of good wine, and the one who drank it was in high spirits. But when it came time to check out, Jason and the others were shocked. In this treasure pavilion, no spirit coins were collected, only points were collected, and this meal cost them a total of more than 4,700 points, equivalent to in terms of spirit coins. There are almost 5 million spirit coins, which is really speechless. A peripheral disciple can only get 10,000 free points when he first joins the spiritual medicine master tower. This meal almost ate up half of a peripheral disciple's points, which surprised many people. But fortunately, Jason made a lot of money in the previous duel with Reddy's and the others, and he was fully able to pay for these points. In the end, many people smacked their lips and said that they could no longer come to the restaurant to eat, and they should just eat the food in the dormitory. Although the food in this restaurant was delicious, they couldn't afford it. What they don't know is that in this spiritual medicine master's tower, these restaurants are specially prepared for core disciples, protectors, etc., while half of them, such as senior disciples, rarely come in to eat. The restaurant staff saw a large group of them at first. When the peripheral disciples came in to eat, they were actually more surprised than Jason himself. A group of wealthy children who have just entered the alchemist tower from the outside world and don't know how hard it is to earn points and spend a lot of money. This is the unit price given to them by the restaurant staff. And Jason, who paid the price, was regarded as the scapegoat among a group of people. Benson naturally didn't know what others thought of him. In fact, even if he knew, he just smiled indifferently. After eating, Jason was not in a hurry to go back, but came to the elixir master tower again. This time, Jason took out all the elixir materials in his space ring, and then carefully selected some materials unique to the territory of chaos, as well as some rare materials that he might use in the future. A small part of the materials were retained, and the rest were all exchanged for points. There were too many materials, enough to fill his entire space ring. Jason himself did not have that much time and energy to prepare. Therefore, he only keeps what he needs, and the rest is better left there and converted into points. Then, Jason spent another 950,000 points to boldly purchase all the elixir materials needed to prepare the 5 elements reincarnation potion, but even so, there was still something in Jason's identity card. More than 1,000,000 points. Then, Jason returned to his residence and started practicing. More than half an hour later, the staff of the spiritual medicine master tower sent more than 10 kinds of materials purchased by Jason to Jason's residence. When more than 10 kinds of materials such as heavenly dew, castor leaves, fire elixir stone, water yuchao, white clay powder, and redwood ambergris were placed in front of Jason one by one, even Jason, a 9th-level elixir master in his previous life, couldn't help but sigh. This spiritual medicine master tower is really a paradise for a spiritual medicine master. With Jason's identity, he wanted it in his previous life, so he could easily get it. But it still took a while for others to send it from all over the continent, but in this spiritual medicine master tower, it only takes half a minute. Within an hour, it had already appeared in front of him. At the same time, it also made Jason understand the importance of points here. Of course, Jason also knows that with his strength, it is not very difficult to earn points. In the elixir tower, a bottle of 6th-level high-grade elixir, depending on the quality and effect, can probably be exchanged for it if sold. It ranges from 20,000 to 50,000 points, but the materials required to purchase a 6th-level high-grade elixir range from a few thousand to 10,000 or 20,000 points. By comparison, Jason can earn about 20,000 points from a bottle of high-grade 6th-grade elixir. He can keep preparing high-grade 6th-grade elixirs and earn points. Some people may have doubts. A bottle of 6th-level high-grade elixir can earn about 20,000 points. So, if a 6th-level advanced elixir master like Reddy's prepares elixir every day, it will not be enough for a month. You can also prepare a dozen bottles of 6th-level high-grade elixir. Wouldn't it be possible to earn hundreds of thousands of points? If you think so, you are totally wrong. Reddy's and the others are 6th-level high-level elixir masters. They can also prepare 6th-level high-grade elixirs, but the success rate of the elixirs they prepare is not the same. Not 100% like Jason. Even if the 6th-level high-grade elixir is prepared by the 7th-level low-level elixir master, there is still a certain failure rate, not to mention the 6th-level high-level elixir master. Therefore, for them it is difficult to prepare the 6th level elixir master. Although high-grade elixirs can make money, in fact, taking into account the discount rate, the profit is not as much as others think. This is also the reason why Redis and his group, as senior disciples, don't have enough points. In fact, with Jason's strength, if he wants to gain points, he can prepare a 7th level Imperial elixir or even an 8th level Emperor elixir in exchange for points, or to bring some future generations to appear. This era has not been studied. The high-quality elixir formulas that come out are traded. No matter which one they are, they can bring Jason huge points. But Jason was not prepared to do this. He didn't know much about the spiritual medicine master tower. He came here mainly to improve his strength and learn about spiritual knowledge and spiritual medicine. Being in the limelight, once it goes too far, will be a curse rather than a blessing for Jason today. Now that I have collected all these materials, there is only one type of 5-color hua left. After putting all the materials in front of him into the space ring, Jason frowned and murmured. 5-color hua is different from ordinary materials and cannot be preserved. It is an instant elixir and must be prepared within 2 hours after picking, otherwise it will wither. This gave Jason a headache. No matter what, let's go to the alchemist tower to release the mission. There are so many alchemists in the entire alchemist tower. Someone must have seen them before, or they may have been trained by alchemists. Thinking in his mind, Jason came to the alchemist tower again. Look, that's Jason, the boy who gave Redis and the others a good lesson this morning. As soon as Jason walked into the trading hall on the first floor of the elixir medicine tower, there was a burst of whispers around him. Many people looked at Jason secretly and talked with the people next to him. Faced with the looks of these people, Jason was extremely calm and went directly to the task release desk in the trading hall and issued a task to acquire Wuzwa. For the price of the acquisition, Jason frowned. 5-color hua is a 6th level elixir. Because it is not very widely used, it is not very expensive. It usually sells for about 10 million spirit coins, which is 10,000 points, but Jason also knows, precisely because it is not widely used, if someone cultivates it, it is usually used for their own needs. If the normal price is only 10,000 points, usually no elixir will sell it. Then let's put the price at 50,000. After thinking carefully for a moment, he finally set a price. 50,000 points, equivalent to 50 million spiritual coins, is almost the price of the 6th level spiritual potion prepared by Jason. It is enough to purchase a 6th level material, which is enough to make all spiritual medicine masters who have 5-color hua be excited. Anyway, Jason had plenty of points, so he didn't care about this. The most important thing for him at the moment was to prepare the 5 elements reincarnation potion, and nothing else mattered. After doing all this, Jason left the trading floor and walked towards his residence. Master what, Master Benjamin, why are you two here? Jason had just walked to the door of his residence when he saw What and Benjamin standing there. Haha, Jason, it's a coincidence that you came back. We just saw that you were not here and were about to leave. What said with a smile, What? We can't come to see you. Are you welcome? We are not welcome. Let's go. Haha, welcome, you two are here, how can you not welcome us? Jason also smiled. Knowing that What was joking, he brought them both into the residence, and then gave them a bath. Had a cup of tea. Tisk, tsk, this tea is good. What picked it up and took a sip, then smiled and said, Jason, you have only been in Panacea City for a day, and now you are already a celebrity. Celebrity? Jason asked. He was stunned, and then laughed, I just sent away a group of annoying guys. In fact, although Jason seems to be very famous now, it is only spread among the bottom of the Elixir City. Of course, there are also some senior disciples knew about it, but more senior disciples who were in seclusion and concentrating on studying spiritual potions had no idea. As for the core disciples, trivial matters like this would never reach their ears. In the room, the three of them sat opposite each other and chatted. After chatting for a while, Jason said, Master Benjamin, I wonder if you have anything to do with your visit today? Jason, knowing that What and Benjamin came here, they definitely didn't come to chat with him. It's like this. What's face also became solemn, because of your special situation of multiple attributes. After studying it with the superiors, Elder Sevlin decided to give you a skill book in advance, which is this month's top grade Yenji Golden Earth secret,